midlife crisis. It's, for me, it's good.
It's good?
It's hard, you know, near retirement and anxious for the time comes.
That I hear a lot of people, like the men, starting to buy sports cars and trying to look younger. So that's pretty much all I really.
Midlife crisis, it happens to everybody, you know, like male or female. It depends on the person and how they take it.
I guess midlife crisis would mean like problems one faces during the middle age.
When you're like kind of in your 50s and things start going badly, like you might have problems with job, family, and you kind of just freak out.
I think that a midlife crisis is a point in someone's life where they encounter a problem so difficult that they don't really know how to deal with it, and they find alternative ways to cope with that issue.
Is when you get to a certain point in your life where you think that you've like matured, for example, but you're faced with a certain issue that completely throws you off.
When someone who's middle-aged starts to freak out and maybe has some doubts about their life they're living.
I think that a midlife crisis is something that happens when you realize the onset of an inevitable end to your life, and you realize that there's a lot of things happening that aren't necessarily the way you hope they would end up, and there's also a lot of things that you left on the table that you're hoping you would have completed by then.
Depends on your job, depends on the family, what's going on in the house. There's a lot of things depend on it.
Probably feel like they're getting old too fast and they want to look younger and they want to feel younger, so yeah.
Psychological things, you know. Yeah. Some people, they don't go through that because, you know, they're different. We're different.
Stuff could be going wrong with your family or your job, and you might be going through some physical changes, such as getting white hair or getting bad eyesight, or like getting wrinkles, stuff like that.
Are when factors in one's life that they're used to having, like, you know, family and friends around, a stable job, things of those like start to disappear, and one feels like what normally would have contributed to a pretty steady lifestyle is starting to fall apart. And
things regarding your family or your friends or just generally the environment you're living in changing significantly. Perhaps you feel responsible or helpless or something like that.
You haven't experienced everything you want to experience, and you kind of realize you know time's running out, I guess.
Things like job stress, stress at home, also like not having a job or recently being laid off, any sort of thing that like lends itself to instability.
I think it happens more to males just because of what I hear. I don't know why it would happen more to males, but yeah.
As females, it happens to anyone.
I think it affects actually more males because more females actually tend to let it out, whereas males actually keep it in.
I think both genders are equally as likely.
I think both males and females are equally prone to experiencing midlife crises, except I also think that they deal with them in different ways.
Actually, I think that males perhaps are more prone to experience midlife crisis because there is a gender stereotype, but I do think that it's because men are often expected to be breadwinners for their families. And
I think it's more common if males are, I'm not really sure, but statistically speaking, maybe just because, you know, they have a lot of responsibility, I guess, like they might be considered the provider of the household.
I don't know if males or females are more likely to experience a midlife crisis. I think that everyone kind of deals with their own mortality and like their own definition of like a full and well-lived life themselves.
No, it depends on the situation. There's people they deal with it, there's people they can't deal with it. There's people narrow-minded, they can't think. You have to think it yourself. That's up to the person how ambition he is. Depends on his willpower in life. There's a lot of things that depend on him.
Yeah, it could happen to like people in a relationship. I don't think it happens to everybody. No, I really wouldn't know how to answer that question, but yeah.
It happens to everybody, you know, like male or female. It depends on the person and how they take it.
Well, I think it doesn't necessarily affect everyone. It always depends on everyone's situation.
And no, yeah, it's inevitable. It'll happen, but you could just make it smoother, like however you want to.
I think a midlife crisis is not necessarily an inevitable part of human development, but it's definitely something that happens frequently enough for that to be, a relatively stable argument, only because it's natural and things fall apart now and then.
I don't think a midlife crisis is inevitable. I think that it does happen frequently enough for it to be expected, perhaps, but obviously there are loopholes.
I wouldn't say it's essential, but I'd say maybe for some people they're still trying to figure out who they are. So yeah, for some people.
Good. And I think that I don't think that a midlife crisis is an inevitable part of your development as a human and like of a life. I think some people are much more susceptible to it. I think that based on the things you do or the personality that you have, it's much more likely that you can have a midlife crisis.
Do I think I'm going to go through one? Possibly. I've been having mini crises and I'm not even like in my midlife. And so like I think I might one day.
I think it's a natural thing to happen, so I wouldn't be surprised if I were to go through a midlife crisis, although I like to think that I'm fairly stress-free.
I don't think I'm going to go through a midlife crisis. I think that I go through quarter-life crises regularly, so I think, no, I personally don't think that I will, but it's always possible.
I really don't know, but like I don't think it's unlikely that I wouldn't. Like it's possible, I guess you could say.
I don't know if I'll go through a midlife crisis, but I say it's probably pretty likely. I have a lot of things to check off on my to-do list, so it's very likely that there's a point that hits where I'm like, oh crap, I haven't got them all done, I'm not ready, I'm not okay with like my own mortality.